It is Sunday, February 23rd, 2020. I'm Lights Camera Jackson. Welcome to LCJ Live. Normally today would probably be Oscar Sunday, but we're 2 weeks past that already. So it's time to get into the box office right away because we've got a really close battle today. Sonic the Hedgehog versus The Call of the Wild with Harrison Ford. Now, when I saw Call of the Wild on Thursday night, I went to a showing that was pretty crowded. And I'm thinking, all right, kids are out of school for President's Week. A lot of adults, parents, grandparents love Harrison Ford. So many dog lovers out there. This movie's going to do well. I think it's going to do more than $20 million. Some people were thinking like 11. And maybe actually give Sonic the Hedgehog a run for its money. And that Disney executives would howl if it ended up beating Sonic the Hedgehog. Well, it came really close. Sonic number 1 with $26.3 million. Call of the Wild with Harrison Ford number 2 with $24.8 million. So that's a $1.5 million difference, $1.5 million. Could that change tomorrow? And the answer is yes. I could totally see Sonic coming down a little bit, Call of the Wild coming up a little bit. Disney, which now owns Fox, will count every single dollar. And if they end up beating what Paramount Sonic does, then Call of the Wild will be the number one movie in America. It is a very close call, and that pun is intended when it comes to the weekend box office. Right now, the folks at Sonic can celebrate, folks at Paramount, but they should be a little concerned that Disney's going to try to get them with the actual results released sometime tomorrow. To be quite honest, the big winner of the weekend is Impractical Jokers, the movie, because it, in just 357 theaters, had a higher per-screen average than The Call of the Wild and Sonic, more than $7,300. It ended up with $2.6 million this weekend to come in 11th, though I could actually see it coming into the top 10, beating out The Photograph, which came in 10th this weekend with $2.8 million. I could see the actual results changing some things when it happens tomorrow. Also, big box office news for your Best Picture Oscar winner, Parasite, which came in 8th this weekend, made another $3 million, and it is closing in on that $50 million mark in the U.S., which it will hit sometime this week. Was Trump out of line for attacking Parasite, says Bob Hall. Look, every person, whether you're a film critic, a casual movie fan, a president of the United States, anybody, I think you need to see a movie in order to have an opinion about the movie specifically. So that's all I'll say, but I think you got to see Parasite, you got to experience Parasite before you can make a statement such as it's great or it's terrible. Hey, thank you College of St. Rose is tuning in right now because Julia Gargano, a senior in the College of St. Rose music program here in upstate New York, is competing tonight on American Idol. She is auditioning. Another Capital Region resident, actually she's from Long Island, but she goes to school at St. Rose. Another Capital Region attendee of an institution is going to be on American Idol, auditioning for Katy Perry, Lionel Richie, and Luke Bryan tonight, 8 o'clock, ABC. Wishing her the best, and it'll be a huge buzz again for the Capital Region. I saw Impractical Jokers, the movie, yesterday, and it was pretty crowded. There are so many diehard, devoted fans of this true TV series. I've never seen an episode of the show, but I went with someone who has seen pretty much all 200 episodes of the show, and the person laughed at all the inside jokes, all the references, and all the hijinks and gags. Some of the things that these guys do in this movie are genuinely funny. There's a scene in which there's a section in which the four guys are one by one being interviewed by folks at the Atlanta Hawks in Atlanta, the basketball team, and they're being fed lines in an earpiece and things to say and how to react, and it is genuinely funny. And just to see how far these people will go when it comes to what these guys say to them. There's some funny stuff. Sometimes they go a little far with some of the gags and some of the hijinks and references and shenanigans in Impractical Jokers, the movie. But if you are a diehard fan of the show, I think you will really, really like it. It gives you that positivity and that energy that I guess you get out of the show. And they tour around the country, too, with different shows and have made a lot of money when it comes to that. Just like the Jackass movies, maybe we'll see another Impractical Jokers film or two in about a year. What's up? Andres Gonzalez 1, thanks for being here on LCJ Live. Saw the Impractical Jokers movie. So Call of the Wild. Here's my thing about Call of the Wild with Harrison Ford, who tries to save this movie and does his best. First half of Call of the Wild is rough to watch. Not only the CGI on the dog buck, but also the human interactions and the civilization interactions. Once it's just Harrison Ford and Buck in the wild, it's okay. It's not great, but it is so much more tolerable than the first half of Call of the Wild. So you got to get through a lot. But I'm disappointed with the CGI. I'm disappointed because I've seen, the things they did with Lady and the Tramp and a lot of other movies where they made the animals look pretty real. This dog does not look real. But yet, he has these realistic-looking facial expressions. The way he moves his eyes, the way he reacts to certain things. A dog wouldn't normally do that. So they gave him human characteristics, but yet he doesn't talk and he doesn't look real. That's a problem. It's a major problem when it comes to this Call of the Wild. It's directed by Chris Sanders, who did How to Train Your Dragon. Co-directed that, co-directed The Croods. I interviewed him for that 7 years ago. And he co-directed, did Lilo and Stitch. So a lot of movies with human characters and interacting with animals or creatures. And so trying to get that again and making that magic happen with this Call of the Wild, and it just does not work, unfortunately. But I am not surprised that Call of the Wild made almost $25 million this weekend on the President's Day week that the kids had off from school, and the weekend now they'll be back in school. But I think adults, a lot of adults, people who like Harrison Ford, will take advantage of Call of the Wild because of his star popularity, which is still there, and they will go see Call of the Wild during the week. What's up, Aiden Knowles? Bob Hall, thanks for being here on LCJ Live. This week, The Invisible Man comes out. It's the new horror thriller starring Elizabeth Moss. That's really the big movie this week. In Limited, you got Wendy, which is the new take on Peter Pan. Probably going to be seeing that next week. But yeah, Invisible Man. Will it do enough to take down either Sonic or Call of the Wild or both? The end of February, not usually an exciting time when it comes to movies, though last year we had the third How to Train Your Dragon movie come out on Oscar weekend. So it did, and that did pretty well. I think 55 million opening weekend for that. So we will see what Invisible Man does, but that's really the only big movie coming out this week. Except on Saturday, Disney and Pixar are doing nationwide preview screenings of Onward, which comes out next week. Disney wants to drum up some positive buzz on Onward, the brand new Pixar film. You got 2 Pixar movies this year. One in March, Onward. One in June with Soul. They're kind of back-to-back. Maybe the tightest ever, I think, for back-to-back Pixars, but I have to check that. Yeah, if you're a diehard Pixar fan, you were excited for these 2 movies. If you're a diehard Pixar fan, you're going to want to go see Onward this Saturday at the early pay nationwide screenings in certain theaters around the country. You're going to want to take advantage of that, absolutely. So I'll give you my take on Onward coming at you next week. And by the way, one episode away, the next episode of the LCJ Q&A podcast, which I'll be announcing at some point soon, will be the 150th episode of the LCJ Q&A podcast. So look out for that. Have an announcement tomorrow when it comes to the Back to You podcast. If you're a fan of the Back to You podcast, this is going to be some pretty exciting news. Maybe not what you're expecting, but pretty good news for the Back to You podcast. So look out for that tomorrow. This Saturday, of course, is Leap Day as well, so an interesting day for Pixar to do these nationwide screenings. As I wrote in a blog piece recently, they screened Ratatouille early. I remember going to a Ratatouille nationwide preview screening 2 weeks before Ratatouille came out, 2 Saturdays beforehand in 2007. They wanted to drum up some buzz for that, certainly. And then they did the Fathom Events screening that I went to for Inside Out in 2015, the Tuesday of its release. They had the movie, and then they did a live Q&A with Amy Poehler, and I think Pete Docter was part of that as well, the director. Pete Docter is behind Soul, which is the June Pixar movie about jazz and about music. This movie, Onward, is a real epic fantasy. It's got the voice cast of Chris Pratt, Tom Holland, Julia Louis-Dreyfus, and Octavia Spencer, and Disney really stressing the star power when it comes to Onward as far as their marketing is concerned. They're really trying to bring people in. Not usually the case for a Pixar movie, but they're really going after that. Did you, I don't have a dog, by the way, says Bob Hall. Did you watch the NAACP Image Awards last night? I caught some of it. Just Mercy did really well, and it is a good film. Jamie Foxx is fantastic. I'm glad he won supporting actor. He should have been up for the Oscar. Michael B. Jordan was good in it. I think Eddie Murphy should have won for Dolomite. I mean, what a performance he gave in that film. Alfre Woodard should have won for Best Actress for Clemency. Incredible performance. Cynthia Erivo, that would have been a nice win, too, for Harriet, but they gave it to Lupita Nyong'o for Us. Lupita, great in 12 Years a Slave, deserved the Oscar for that, wonderful. Us is not my favorite movie. It just isn't. But she did win Best Actress, and then Supporting Actress went to Marzay Martin for a film called Little, a Comedy, over Jennifer Lopez for Hustlers, and Octavia Spencer, who was dynamite in Loose, one of the best movies of last year. Octavia should have won. She was fantastic in that. Or you give it to J-Lo, but probably Octavia had the deeper, stronger, more layered performance. And then Just Mercy won film, Just Mercy won ensemble. Dolomite Is My Name, at least one independent film. And James Earl Jones won voice performance in a motion picture for his voice work in The Lion King, reprising the role of Mufasa 25 years after doing it the first time. Basically reading the same lines over again, and he wins the NAACP Image Award for voice performance in a motion picture. So there you go. Those are your winners for the Image Awards. So coming at you this week, look for my thoughts on Invisible Man. I'll be seeing Onward and more. Gonna have a new blog piece up tomorrow at lights-camera-jackson.com. And hey, check out in the LCJ Q&A podcast, brand new episode I put up the other day with Kevin Kiner. He is the composer of the new final season of Star Wars The Clone Wars, which is now streaming on Disney+. Talked to Kevin about his work with Star Wars Clone Wars, the movie, the show, Star Wars Rebels, which he also did, and what he thinks about the Baby Yoda phenomenon. All of that on a new LCJ Q&A episode. So you can find that on the website. That's lights-camera-jackson.com in the LCJ Q&A podcast section. You can also look for that on Spotify, Podbean, Google Podcasts, all of that, Apple Podcasts, iTunes, wherever you get your podcasts. Check out the LCJ Q&A for Kevin Kiner. It was great to talk to him. All the diehard Star Wars fans, you gotta be getting excited that Clone Wars final season, 7th and final season. And there's some new music things happening with it that Kevin talks about. We get into as much as we possibly can without getting into spoilers, because the folks at Lucasfilm are very specific about not giving stuff away. So we do the best we can with that. So check out that episode now. All right. Very good. Watch American Idol tonight for Julia Gargano. Lots of stuff happening in TV and film. Invisible Man this week. Elizabeth Moss was really good in this film called Her Smell that came out middle of last year. She was up for the Independent Spirit Award for Best Actress for it. She played a rock singer going through a lot of stuff, and it was quite a performance. She's got a lot to live up to when it comes to what's going to happen this week with Invisible Man. And I'm looking forward to Wendy, because Wendy is a new take on Peter Pan. It's from Ben Zeitlin, who did Beasts of the Southern Wild. Not my favorite movie, but I like these kind of twists on old classic stories, like Goodbye Christopher Robin, Saving Mr. Banks, films that kind of give us a new perspective, a new angle when it comes to certain classic stories. I'm interested in those. Whether they succeed or not, is what it is, but I'm interested in those kind of stories. So we'll see what Wendy has to say from Ben Zeitlin. And as far as Onward is concerned, I hope it provides genuine laughs, genuine emotion, cool animation. I've really got my fingers crossed on it, hoping for the best. So we will see what happens. As always, follow me on Twitter at LCJ Reviews, Instagram at LightsCamJackson. I got my double picture there with Hugh Jackman and Allison Janney, Bad Education. New movie coming to HBO April 25. Really looking forward to that. People who saw it at Toronto in September say Jackman is incredible, gives the best performance of his career, and a lot of people disappointed that it's not going to be in theaters, that he could have vied for an Oscar maybe for this performance. But you know what? An Emmy's good too. He's already got an Emmy, but maybe he can get another Emmy for Bad Education, April 25th, Saturday night on HBO. So I got that trailer up at the website as well if you haven't seen that yet. Head there, lights-camera-jackson.com for that and my take on Impractical Jokers. Also going to have my review coming at you in a day or so of Greed. It's a new movie starring Steve Coogan that opens in limited release select theaters this Friday. Steve Coogan, Isla Fisher, Asia Butterfield. But if you want my thoughts on it already, listen to the brand new episode of the Too Fast, Two Films podcast that I do with Mike Sargent. We talk about Call of the Wild, and we talk about Greed, so check that out. TooFastTwoFilms.com. That's the number 2. And you can follow that on Twitter at TooFastTwoFilms. Instagram as well at TooFastTwoFilms. Brand new episode. We give you our takes on these movies in just 2 minutes each. Call the Wild and Greed, which opens up this Friday. So check those out. I'll see you back here next Sunday at 12 p.m. Eastern. It'll already be March. Oh my gosh. That is crazy. Next Sunday is March 1st. Wow. Enjoy the week. Enjoy the Leap Day on Saturday. And I'll see you back here next Sunday at 12 p.m. Eastern for another LCJ Live. Thank you for being a big fan, Couch Dad. I appreciate it. Bye-bye, everybody. Thanks.